intro. I cooked up straight to the point. But listen, we are super excited to be back with y'all, back to do what we love to do, and back to do it with the people we love to do it with. So, welcome. I see y'all in the chat already popping per usual. Yeah, I love y'all. Lunatic Fringe, Dev. I see all the usuals in here. Studley Butley. Welcome, man. So good to be back. Nevada, brother. How are you feeling, man? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. It's been a good week for the Buckeyes. It's been an interesting week for the Wolverines, and lots of stuff going on around the program. And anytime you can get stuff where there's new lawsuit information, and bringing Harbaugh back into this, and bringing Yoko Ono back into this, and the whole happy gang, it it definitely it definitely makes me want to dig and kind of dig into some stuff. And I've been digging all week on Michigan information. And it's so funny. The Michigan folks are so kind of mercurial. They get a couple of recruits, and they feel like, oh man, we're in the clear. We are in the
Right.
clear. I mean, like the happy days are here again. We've got our recruits. This is unbelievable. And I am telling you right now, I think they are setting themselves up for a colossal letdown
Mm.
on this, because I think they feel like somehow they dodged the bullet, or somehow they're so. And I'm telling you, you guys are spiking you're doing the Deshaun Jackson and the All American Bowl, where you spike the ball at the 5 yard line, and the ball rolls out of bounds for the touchback. Because I think you guys are going to be really really disappointed by this. And this Matt Weiss thing, they amended the lawsuit. And this is what we've been saying all along. The genesis of this was a member of the Michigan administration senior staff had had literally visually seen Matt Weiss accessing the emails. And this was back in December, when this notification about potential computer crimes happened. So literally they have eyes on Matt Weiss doing. They see Matt Weiss doing this. They notify the powers that be. They start going in it. And Michigan then allows Matt Weiss to coach
Yeah.
in the game weeks later. And it's such an outrageous, personal violation, legal violation, NCAA. I mean, there's about 19 different things that they did wrong on this. And the plaintiffs have caught wind of this. They've amended their complaint to this, and because of that, they've expanded the scope of the lawsuit to include people that go way beyond Matt Weiss, because this was a complete cover up by the institution. They knew about this. They knew this was problematic, being that this was their offensive coordinator that did it, and they chose to cover it up. And I, yeah, I can only harken back to the Penn State, uh, and if anybody wants to go back and look at what Penn State got, Penn State. I'm going off the top of my head. I'm riffing right now, but I believe it was 12 years of vacated wins,
Something
a
crazy like
50
that.
a $50 million fine, and a 4 year postseason ban and scholarship. And now a lot, they negotiated, past that. They felt they were overreaching, and they gave some of that back. But none of that had to do with ineligible players. That just had to do with unethical conduct. So this goes right to the heart of unethical conduct by the institution. Dare I say, lack of institutional control, and or at the very least, aggravated failure to monitor. And yeah, like from the people that I talk to, I do not believe this. I am more stride in my belief than ever that this does not have a happy ending for Michigan, despite the fact that they got Carter Meadows, and that somehow that was supposed to be some sign from above that they're in the all clear. But no, I don't think they're in the all clear anytime soon.
Yeah, yeah, Nevada. It's been weird, man. Michigan fans are a weird bunch. Lots of celebrating, lots of, and I pulled this up on the screen here, to your point, Nevada, because I don't think people understand, how big this is. Look at this quote. Jim Harbaugh completely shocked by allegations versus former Michigan assistant Matt Weiss. Okay, this is back in March of what year? What earlier this year, and now the allegation suggests that they already knew not only him but Ono and Manuel. So with him, to me, this is just another lie to stack on top of the other lies. I mean, this is huge. I mean, he came out with this, hey, I didn't know till after the TCU game. Now it seems to be like an indication, like a real thing, that there's proof that he knew. And yeah, man, this is it's weird because listen, I've hated Michigan all my life, Nevada. I've lived in Columbus, Ohio all my life, and we have an ungodly amount of contrarian, idiot Michigan lovers and Ohio State haters here. I've dealt with this fan base all my life. They've always been they've always postured and played confident, like they knew something we didn't know, and all this other stuff. They're good at I don't want to just say lying, but faking the funk. And they, I believe, in their hearts, they're kind of like trying to mentally, magically make this hammer go away. And into the recruiting and say, see, if the hammer was coming, why would these come? Listen, Nevada made a post on the board earlier, BuckeyeScoop.com. Excellent post, giving perspective, because there's a lot of freaking out about recruiting right now from Ohio State fans because of what Michigan's doing is because we missed a few players. But in that write-up, he made some really good points. Remember, the new NIL situation that passed July 1st is the deadline. Some of these kids are trying to hop in so where they can get their money and not have to worry about it being vetted, by the clearinghouse that's being set up and, all that stuff. Don't overreact to what's going on right now, y'all, is my point. But Nevada, I won't keep rambling. I'm going to kick it back to you, but I just wanted to say, for those who don't know how serious this is just another serious thing to stack on top of this. And for those who just thought all of a sudden the hammer's not coming, we are still standing on business. The hammer is still coming. Nothing has changed, evidence-wise, facts-wise, logic-wise. Tony Petitti's letter didn't all of a sudden morph into a fruit basket and an I'm sorry letter. Everything is the same. So we still expect the same, right?
But no question. And the idea that I go back to when Ohio State was going through their NCAA issues, and Gene Smith and Urban Meyer got completely caught off guard by a
Mm,
postseason ban. And if Gene Smith and Urban Meyer didn't know about what the NCAA's intentions were, why do I believe that Carter Meadows knows what the NCAA was going to do? I mean, Carter Meadows, like it's just not, I mean, what happened is that deals done before July 1st don't count against your cap. It's like it's an uncapped year. And I'd liken it to the NHL in 2003, 2004, where there was an uncapped season. So a lot of teams kind of the front end loaded a lot of their contracts. Now, the problem when you say, well, why wouldn't everybody do that? You just put your contracts in there, doesn't count against your salary cap. But what happens is for Ohio State will not break the bank for high school players. Because if you pay a unproven high school player, if they went out and paid an offensive lineman right now, say that they a good offensive lineman, big kid really want him, and they paid him $800,000. Okay, well, then the next day, and believe me, all these kids know what people are getting. They know through their agents. They know from the other players. They know. It's almost like you're dealing with an open payroll system right there. So when somebody gets paid, what is Austin Seyerveld worth? If this new
right.
kid is worth 800, what is Luke Montgomery worth? What is Carson Hinsman worth? They're all marching in there and going, "Hey, wait a second! You're paying that much money for that? I started in the national championship game last year, and I'm going to start for you this year. Where's my money?" And you just set up a whole cavalcade of other issues. It's a law of unintended consequences, and so you affect your starters, you affect your guys that are promising. But if you bring in a defensive back, and then Malik Hartford comes in and says, "Hey, I'm going to be a baller. Where's my money?"
Yep.
Then I mean, it goes and goes and goes. And so Ohio State doesn't play the game. So the schools that you're seeing playing this game right now are the ones that are a little on the edge of desperation. USC, Ole Miss, Michigan. These are schools that are like, you know something? I don't care. I'm going to take the risk of losing my room by upsetting it with these types of deals because I just have to take a chance. They're just going to take shots. And for Ohio State, why would Ohio State take it? The one thing you get about the culture of Ohio State, and I've heard this from players, I've heard this from parents of players, I've heard this from mentors, I've heard this from agents, is when you talk to the kids at Ohio State, the biggest difference is they're not all about the money. The first thing
Yeah.
out of their mouth isn't about how much money they're getting at Ohio State. Ohio State is selling culture, they're selling long-term development, they're selling the prospect of NFL riches, and they're saying for kids, we will pay to keep you on the roster, we will pay for performance. And that is completely different. Now, you may like that idea, you may not like that idea. That's okay. But just recognize that's the plan for Ohio State. And so for Ohio State, if you're Caleb Downs and you're a freshman All-American and you're a first, second team All-American and superstar, and you're coming in through the transfer portal, so you're going to get paid. But if you're just a high school kid, you've never done it before. If you're David Sanders, the money's just not going to be there because Ohio State has to draw a line somewhere. And for Ohio State, the line for them is retaining their existing roster. And for Michigan, it's completely different right now. Michigan is like, with Michigan, you can tell they don't have a plan. It's like, oh, Bryce Underwood. Oh, let's just throw a bunch of money at Bryce Underwood. Oh, Carter Meadows. Let's just throw a
Right.
bunch of money at Carter Meadows. And like, I look at our roster and I'm like, man, our roster we're preseason number one for 25. And I'm telling you right now, we are going to be better in 2026 than we are in 2025. That's how good we are. So the only way you can screw that up is by you mess with your salary cap, you bring in guys, or you overpay for unproven talent because players know who the players are. And if you're bringing in a Bo Atkinson, if you're bringing in a Max Clare, if you're bringing in an Ethan, they don't mind you paying those guys because those guys are legit NHL prospects, first team All-Americans. Those are guys that can make a difference. But you're paying for high school kids and then you're comparing them to existing guys in the roster. That's problematic, and that's where the line gets drawn.
Yep. I hope y'all heard that. He just put y'all on to some serious game when it comes to how Ohio State handles things. Funky and I have said the same thing. We've told you over and over. Nevada, I'm gonna read this post from my Buckeye Sports Talk with B Moses Facebook page of how some of our fans have been reacting. And then I'm gonna ask you a question about Harbaugh in this situation. So this is from my Facebook page. It says Buckeyes recruiting is at an all-time low right now. Crazy coming off a national championship, and it's literally miss after miss with every first or second option, and all we keep getting is the third and fourth options to commit. Should have let LJ walk 2023 and went the youth route because he's past his prime, sadly. We can't keep the ship going only through the transfer portal. Have to get these guys before they become way too expensive in the portal. So that's just one take of many that I've seen. Of it's just like, come on, y'all. First of all, you out the gate, he says at an all-time low. Somebody pull up 247. Last time I checked, which was earlier today, we're number 5, and the class is not done. We have the highest average star ranking if that has not changed, and we still got guys that's coming in the hopper, like 5-star, big time guys. What are you talking about? It's insane, Nevada. And I know me and you are on the same page. We always have been when we say we don't freak out about, we never worry about recruiting. Yes, you want guys and you like, dang, I wish we would have got them, but I don't lose sleep over recruiting, y'all. I just don't. You got a reaction to that crazy comment, Nevada?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, when you're looking at class rankings, average star rating is the only way to look at it because
Yeah,
USC's already signed 30 guys or whatever it is. Class, if you only sign 20 and another school signs 30, they're going to get more points than you are because they just have a bigger class. That doesn't mean it's a better class. To me, average star ranking's always been where it's at. And for Ohio State, I mean, if we had Michigan's class right now, the Michigan class that everybody's raving about. If that was our class right now, we wouldn't have this podcast because we'd be on like some sort of thing marching to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center to burn it down and to run Ryan Day out of town
right.
because he's a bum for the recruiting. But we're so spoiled that when we quote unquote miss on anybody, it's, I'm telling you, the one thing I've learned from doing this for as long as I've been doing it is generally when we miss on a kid, it's very rarely that I ever hear about that kid again, think about
Right.
that kid. I mean, there's exceptions. There's Dylan Stewart or something like that where you're like, that would have been a nice get, would have been nice to get him or whatever it is. But um, generally, when kids leave and they go elsewhere to Ohio State, these things generally self-select. And what I mean is, if a kid, there was that kid in the portal that was coming from, I can't remember his name right off the top of my bat, really good player, highly ranked from Georgia, kind of rotational guy, ended up going to Missouri. And we were in the mix with him, ended up going to Missouri. Well, my thing is, if you're a defensive lineman and you go to Missouri over Ohio State, I don't think you're the right fit for Ohio State. And I'm not sure how serious you are about your trade. And for Ohio State, we don't want the enough. Let me tell you a little story. Jeremiah Smith. You guys remember that kid JJ Smith? You've heard of him before, B Moses?
I think so. I need to
Yeah,
check. I need
okay.
to Google
Yeah,
him.
yeah, Google him. Google him up there. Really good player, really very promising freshman. But if you remember on signing day, he almost, he was one of the last to sign. People were losing their minds. Why isn't JJ Smith signed? The reason JJ Smith hadn't signed was because Ohio State hadn't laid out for him what his NIL deal was yet. He was ready to sign, ready to go do it because NIL was the last thing on his mind. He didn't, it was just like, they said they'll take care of it. And his agent's like, whoa, 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 JJ, we got to at least get it in writing before you go up there. But that's where NIL ranks for life. That's where Caden Dixon went. Th- They don't have it spelled out for him. He's going to Ohio State because these kids are going to Ohio State for the right reason. They're going to Ohio State because they're like, I want to play against the best. I want to practice against the best. I want to be developed by the best. And if I go to the NFL, as I know I'm going to do, I'm going to make a half a billion dollars, and they end up getting
Yeah.
40 million a year. And the NFL is a star wide receiver. Why am I sweating over a couple $100,000 or this, that? That's missing the point. Those are the kind of kids that we want at Ohio State. Those are the kind of kids we're getting at Ohio State, and those are the kids that we're going to continue to get at Ohio State. And that's why I love this class. I mean, look, I'm not just in the thing of blind. Hey, recruiting's great. Don't worry about it. Go to sleep. We'll be fine. If recruiting's bad, I promise you, I'll be the first one stand up to say it. This about LJ, man, I have heard this before. Just change the name from Larry Johnson to Greg Studraw, and it was the same
Right.
thing. And it was coming from the same place and the same people at Ohio State. If you see stuff coming from certain people, you know it's coming from certain people inside of Ohio State. And if somebody asks me, maybe somebody asks me the question, and I'll get a little bit deeper into that. But there are reasons why stuff like that. Larry Johnson now has become the whipping boy. It is everywhere you see on the internet. Just Larry Johnson sleeping through meetings. Larry Johnson doesn't have phone calls. Larry Johnson doesn't know how to use Twitter. I mean, all this stuff, and it's a narrative that is being pushed out by one person at Ohio State through his intermediaries in the OSU beat, and it's just happening. There's bad blood between those two guys. That's where it's coming from. This story before it happened with Stud. With Stud, people are like, oh, now you look at, wow, that was the golden age of horseshoe line recruiting. We never recruited better before or since here. National
Yeah.
championship. So, but it's like, hey, don't, people like to kind of get their narratives going and stuff. So I'm, I'm totally content with where we are. I'm totally content with where we're rolling into the 2025 season. And I'm excited. I think Ohio State's doing it the right way. They're doing it the smart way. These are really, really smart guys operating Ohio State and operating on the, under the salary cap environment. And I'm just super excited about where we go from here.
Nope. Fire LJ yesterday. No, X and Twitter is the worst when it comes to this. The Larry Johnson hate. It's incredible. I mean, it doesn't matter how many guys he pulls in. It doesn't matter how many facts you point to. And listen, no one is saying LJ has been perfect. He's just pulled all 5 stars. But look at the development and look at who he has brought in. This cycle is not over. It's just people are going to look for reasons to hate on him regardless, because, like you said, he's the whipping boy. And that's just what it is. I mean, I'm looking at our class right now, and I really, really like our class. I mean, freaking Sincere Johnson, Caden Dixon Wyatt, Blaine Bradford, Chris Henry Jr. I mean, I'm just naming a few. We got some really good guys. And the other thing is, people think that the staff just goes by 247 and on three. They have their own evaluation, y'all. They have their own board. There's a guy who's at the top of their list that may be a 3-star, but may not be at the top of everybody else's list, but they've scouted him, they've looked at him, they've done their homework. So at the end of the day, what it boils down to me is they just don't trust the staff. I mean, you can win a natty, you can keep just proving over and over. It doesn't matter. Our fans love drama and they love to be miserable, some of them. And it's just like, come on. To me, it's annoying. It's highly annoying. Also, as far as recruiting goes, make sure y'all check out the Buckeye Boys. Devin Mello and Funky Buck is all over recruiting. I love recruiting too. I'm going to touch on recruiting. I'm into it as well. I'm just shouting them out because Devin Mello and Funky, they interview recruits before and after they commit. They interview parents. They are in the trenches, okay? So listen, we are tapped in when it comes to recruiting for sure. But yeah, Nevada, just death taxes and freaking out over recruiting when you have a top 5 class in June is just par for the course. But anyway, I wanted to ask you something about Harbaugh, unless you wanted to respond to that.
Well, no, it's just, look, I was hoping this was my hopes. My hopes for the new year was that the national championship that we just won, we are the defending national champion, um, that would buy us some goodwill. And I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about the OSU community. Like, just maybe for a little bit, you guys can trust the process for just a little bit and don't worry about some high school kid. I mean, you talk about Larry Johnson. I've pointed out many times the class of people that Larry Johnson brought in 7 guys in the last recruiting cycle in a year after he had all 4 guys on his defensive line drafted.
Right.
All 4 guys. I mean, I don't know how many times that's ever happened at Ohio State. I don't know if it has ever happened at Ohio State. I mean, I don't know that it hasn't happened, but to have 4 guys in the same draft go all from your defensive line is crazy. And and that's the guy that we've decided can't coach anymore or whatever it is.
Right.
It's like, I mean, I don't know. And the 3 guys we got right now, I'm telling you, Kari Wilder, whatever you want to pronounce his name, he might end up being the best of the bunch of everybody. I've talked to people that think that that kid is a superstar, and I know the camp thing, this camp this, camp that, but he went there and just embarrassed some really good offensive linemen, and he's a bad man, and you know. He's a defensive lineman. He's an edge. He's a passer. He's exactly what what everybody's clamoring for. He might be amongst the elite of the elite in the country, and this is coming from people that know. This is coming from people from high school programs that see the best of the best players, and they're saying he is as good. He stacks up as good as anybody in the country right now, and I trust those guys a heck of a lot more than I do national recruiting analysts because I look. I've been in the business a long time. I've met the national recruiting analysts. I see how the process works in terms of doing it. And you just have to understand the Ohio State board, as you mentioned, and it's a great point, it's completely different than what the national people have. They'll have guys listed as 3 stars that Ohio State might have 4 or borderline 5-star players. And that happens all the time. And the Ohio State guys the Ohio State guys do this for a living. They have millions and millions and millions of dollars to help with their evaluations. They have staffs of, between the stringers and the people they have regionally, it's probably close to 50 to 100 people, looking at this stuff. And their very livelihood, reputation, everything depends upon getting this right. And these are the kids that they're choosing to come to Ohio State. So just because some guy, I guarantee you, 99.9% of the analysts that go out and do some sort of national ranking have never seen most of the kids play. They've never seen them play. They might have seen a 15-second tape. They might have seen whatever. they've never seen these kids play in person. There's just too many kids. It's
Right.
too many kids. It's too much. You need way more resources than these guys have at these recruiting services to do that. And that's why with Ohio State, I give them the benefit of the doubt. That doesn't go for all programs because I think, in general, 5 stars outperform 4 stars that outperform 3 stars. But at Ohio State, because they're so good at recruiting, I think the distinction between 5 star and 3 star, frankly, isn't that big of a deal. And I think that's an important point for people to remember.
Yep. I agree. And you know who else is a bad man? I think you called Wilder a bad man. Whatever you used, you're basically saying he's a dog. Sam Greer. Sam Greer. You talking about killing at the camps? Sam Greer. Did anybody see that clip that went viral where the dude froze up and he pushed him down and he looked like one of them little things you hit that pop back up? This dude is a monster. Go watch him play basketball. He's as physical as you can get. And then look at his quote. He talks about, he wants to go to Ohio State because of championship culture and developmental track record. So, we're going to go after guys. Ryan Day was not playing, y'all, when he told y'all he's not going to let anyone come here and disrupt his culture. He understands the blueprint. He can stomach some fans whining on Twitter in June in order to accomplish his goal, y'all. He's not tripping off of y'all. Neither is Larry Johnson. Y'all can be goofy and cry and whine about it all day while we continue to put another top 5 class in the books and be in playoff contention once again. So, I just wanted to say that because I love this class so far, and we are not done. We are not done. Period. So, I just wanted to say that. But Nevada, I wanted to go back to Harbaugh and ask you your opinion, because we already were wondering if after the sanctions dropped for the Stallion stuff, if the NFL would then turn around and do something like they did Tressel, for something much, 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 much lesser. Now with this stacked on top of it and being a more even more egregious thing with the Matt Weiss stuff, in your opinion, do you think the NFL is going to eventually do something to Harbaugh penalty-wise?
Well, I've been told by the same people that told me that Harbaugh was going to the Chargers. So, I hope that I have a modicum of credibility in this area because if you remember, when this was when the Michigan beat was saying he was coming back. There were actually odds on drafting. You could actually bet on it, bet real money where he was going. And at the time, he was plus 350, so you could get 3.5 to 1. And I said, guys, put it all on. He's going to the Chargers. It's done. He's going to the Chargers. Well, these same people are telling me that the NFL has reached out to Harbaugh to interview him about this. So I believe there is an active NFL investigation going on talking about this issue. I have no idea what the upshot's going to be. I don't know if they're waiting for the NCAA to issue the ruling. My educated opinion is that they're waiting for the NCAA to issue their final ruling because really, up until now, what could the NFL have really acted upon? They couldn't have acted upon. It's not like the NFL's done their own,
Yeah.
homework on this. They've got an open investigation. They just had a hearing. The NCAA is going to hand down whatever punishment they're going to hand down, and then the NFL can react. So I, I, I am of the opinion you say, gun to your head, Nevada. What do you think it's going to be? I think they'll do something. I think it'll be symbolic. I think it'll be a big fine or something. I don't think it'll be along the lines of a suspension or draft picks or anything like that. I think it'll be a fine, but I think the NFL will do something because I know they're looking into it. And I know that Goodell had made such a big deal about how you can't run and you can't go there. But having said that, you look at how many assistants have got these show causes and these negotiated settlements with the NCAA, and they ran on to coaching jobs. A lot of them with the Chargers. So I don't know. The NFL may have just been overwhelmed by the magnitude of this or whatever it was, but I would hope Goodell would man up, do something to Harbaugh because if anybody was ever begging for it, if anybody ever deserved it, it's Jim Harbaugh. He's
Yeah.
the poster child for defiance, for burning a program down, and then running to escape the punishment, just like the coward that we knew that he was.
Yep. And just to give y'all some insight, y'all probably can't see my screen, but it says from the Athletic, Naming head coach Jim Harbaugh and athletic director Warde Manuel in this complaint reflects our belief that leadership at the highest levels either knew of these threats or deliberately ignored them, prioritizing athletic prestige and profit over the safety and dignity of students. Attorney Parker Steiner said in an email statement, by placing athletic success and financial interest above accountability, transparency, and student welfare, the university failed in its basic duty of care. Flat out. If Harbaugh and the gang knew about this but proceeded to have him coach against TCU, I mean, what are we doing? There's nothing else to be said. If this can be proven, I mean, it's like Nevada. I'm losing track of the blatant lack of integrity, character, lying, cheating. I mean, this is just amazing to me. And I'll just say this, and others have made this point, but it's true. If this was Ohio State, Lord help me. Oh my God. I mean, the lack of coverage that this gets is astounding to me. Now, some are coming along now a little bit, but it's still, this needs to be around the clock on the ticker, you know, and that's frustrating, but this is just craziness. The amount of stuff that Michigan has just been pulling over these past few years. It's crazy.
Well, but you think about, I mean, look, it's one thing for us to say, hey, Harbaugh's, dishonest, Harbaugh lies, Harbaugh would cover it up. But by the cheeseburger game, that's a fact. So that's a fact not in dispute. We know he will sit there and just lie. I mean, he sat there and just lied to the NCAA about meeting the person, about the most basic thing. I never met that person before in my life. And if they didn't pull the receipts and they didn't have the very vivid description of his breakfast choices and things like that, maybe he'd have gotten away with it. That's been his MO his whole life. Just
Right.
just lie. And this is a guy who's given these, keynote and fundamental speeches about how integrity is either 100% or at 0%, and you never ever ever lie and never cheat. You'll always be caught, and you'll do this. And he was the biggest liar of them all. He was the guy, but he set the tone for everything that went on at that school, because it's like any organization, and you work in business, I work in business, we've all been part of organizations. And they say, there's an old saying in that a fish rots from the head down. if
Yeah.
if you don't set the right tone from the very top, people sense that. And especially if you're going out and you're saying to your recruiting coordinators, to your people, hey, look, go to the line and cross it. I don't care. Bring kids on campus. Do whatever. We're going to just go. Um, everybody gets wind of that really, really quickly, and they realize that, hey, anything goes. Sign stealing, great. Advanced scouting, great. Fredo Harbaugh paying Venmos and funding the thing with some other alleged booster from Michigan, great. Whatever they can do, they'll do. And that was the culture. That's what that place is. That's how something like this goes on. And but if you focus just on the Weiss thing, you think about it. Okay, so what? Somebody saw Weiss accessing nude pictures of co-eds at Schembechler Hall. You are telling me that when this guy goes to the admin and they go to the police, who is the first person that they're calling? They're calling Warde Manuel. They're calling the athletic director. They're saying, hey, Ward, we need what do we do on that? We need your advice on this. Who's Warde Manuel calling? Warde Manuel's calling Jim Harbaugh. And I mean, you know how this went down. You're telling me that they went to the place, and they never tell the football coach. They
Right.
never told the athletic director. The university president wasn't aware. Of course they knew. Of course they knew. They're just playing stupid. They're playing along there. They wanted to try to kick the can down the road. You know why? Because they had a big game coming up. They had a big game coming up, and I think the lawyer put it best. Athletic performance was the only thing that mattered to them. Integrity didn't matter. Doing things the right way didn't matter. Following the NCAA rules didn't matter. Self-reporting didn't matter. It was all about just trying to win that game. And as it turned out, they kind of played themselves on the whole thing. But I think for Michigan, this will, as big as the scandal is with Weiss and stuff like that, the fact that they knew all this time, and you're under an obligation as an organization when you find out about stuff. This goes to the sign stealing, the advanced scouting, as well as this Weiss thing. You're under an obligation to call your own penalties, to notify the NCAA, to notify the Big Ten what's happened. None of that happened. This whole thing, none of this happened. So when you're looking for mitigating factors for Michigan, when you're looking for outstanding cooperation, when you're looking for not being a repeat offender, when you're looking for self-reporting, when you're looking for, they don't have any of it. They're all aggravating factors because Michigan chose this path led by Jim Harbaugh, and it's going to lead them to ruin.
Yep. And I want to ask you something you mentioned. I wanted to ask you about, and I think you've explained this before, but for the people, what, and based off your interpretation of the bylaws and everything with the NCAA, what's the difference between failure to monitor aggravated or lack of institutional control? Because to me, when I looked it up, you can make a case for both. I mean, LOIC seems to be the one you point to, like, hey, this is really. But then you look at the aggravating factor monitor is like, well, yeah, that too. So, what's your thoughts on that? And to me, now just real quick, let me preface this, y'all. It doesn't matter because everything on the table, the penalties that we've been saying are on the table are still on the table regardless, to my understanding. But I'm just wondering, like, the difference in your mind between those two.
Well, I think it's a great question, and the way I've had it explained to me is that there's a lack of institutional control with cooperation with mitigating factors and a failure to monitor with aggravated factors. There's virtually no difference between those. And like you said, on the penalty, they have an entire penalty tree kind of laid out in terms of what the possible sanctions are against institutions for doing it. Um, I think they're trying to save lack of institutional control for just the absolute most egregious offenders. But I would submit this falls into that category because the scope of this is a multi-year cheating scandal. The fact that they were repeat offender, the fact that they didn't self-report, and the fact that this went up and down the organization. I think that in the eyes of the NCAA, I think the only thing that keeps us from tipping over to lack of institutional control is the fact that they can't prove a direct link to Harbaugh on this. They don't have the smoking gun email where Harbaugh's like, hey, nice job. I mean, look, we've got him presenting him with we've got a lot of circumstantial evidence. We got him, presenting the game ball. We've got the Venmo transactions between Fredo Harbaugh and Connor Stallions. We've got, the fact that Connor Stallions was sitting in the chair of cheer right next to the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and sometimes Jim Harbaugh during games and talking to him during the game. So, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that would lead you to believe that Jim Harbaugh had direct, not indirect, not cursory, not should have known, was responsible for, but had direct knowledge. But I just don't think they can prove that link. So I think that's the only thing that keeps them going from full LOIC. But back to the original point, the aggravated factors that go into a failure to monitor. You're right in the sweet spot for the most, the sternest of penalties, and that's where I think Michigan's going to end up.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, just for those concerned about that, it don't matter. The hammer will be the hammer regardless of that label that they get hit with. But yeah, I mean, we have a few super chats. I didn't know if you wanted to move on to those and start collecting those, but yeah, let's get to the first one. Let me go ahead and remove this. So first one, Joshua Dillon 728. Thanks for the 5. Glad the show is back. Love the new intro. Glad to hear Nevada's voice again. Missed y'all so much. Hope Kirk is doing well. Praying for him. Glad to be back as well, man. I'm glad to hear Nevada's voice on the podcast as well. And so I'm glad to be back with y'all. And like I said in the beginning, doing what we love to do. And so, and we're going to be doing this. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same bat channel. I know I sound like an old fogey saying that, but it's a classic quote. But anyway, you got anything for that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, just look, I love the podcast. I love the podcast is always the best part of my day. I love talking Ohio State, football, sports, college football in general. This is what I do. This is my happy place, and I'm just so happy that I be. I mean, I don't know how well you guys know Timo's B, super connected guy, knows a lot of people around the program. Like I said, grown up in Columbus, born and raised. So, so this is a guy that knows Ohio State backwards and forwards. And I just feel very blessed to have a broadcast partner like that, because I think he's got unique perspectives on things that I don't have, and certainly has some contact that I don't have as well. So I'm just very grateful that I have a partner like that. And like I said, we're going to be here every night. We're going to do our thing. And every day we do it, we're one step closer to the season starting, which is it's going to be on top of us before we know it. So yeah, just very excited to be here.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I'm also very happy to be here. And my Akeem from Coming to America Voice. Definitely, grateful that I can, be here and partner with you, brother, for sure. Next year, I've been so Joshua Dillon again. Thanks for the 5. I've been so focused on and engrossed in the BBB and Congress with the short act and HPA. What have I missed? Well, hopefully, since you've posted that, we've kind of covered, what you've missed. Right now, it's about this update with Weiss and the Michigan officials being implemented in that, and then of course the freaking out about recruiting. I think those are the 2 top things going on in the sports world right now. You got anything for that, Nevada?
Yeah, just the freaking out. Yeah, we really, we pride ourselves on the show on telling you guys the truth, giving it to you straight, not filtered through any type of Ohio State lens or anything that they want to get out, or any narrative they're trying to say or whatever. We'll tell you when things are good. We'll tell you when things are bad. We'll tell you when to freak out. And I'm just telling you. I mean, things are good. Business is good for Ohio State. Recruiting is good. The brand is strong. The coffers are full. And yeah, good. And as for Michigan, they're whistling past the graveyard right now, man. They're just they like you said earlier, they're just trying to manifest, all these, these thoughts that they have to hope that they're somehow gonna escape. But think about the logic train on this, okay? The NCAA notifies the Big Ten no, never done before in the history of the NCAA. They notify the Big Ten in the middle of the season that they've got an active NCAA thing going on. The Big Ten then suspends Harbaugh in the middle of a national championship season, and it never been done before. Does what? Then they go all the way. They can't reach a negotiated settlement for whatever reason. They go all the way through a hearing, and then they say, "I was going to say, oh, yeah, you're right. It was a nothing burger. We're going to like." Come on. I mean, come on. Does that really make any sense to anybody? I mean, is that a possible outcome? Sure. Anything's a possible outcome. We're talking the realm of possibilities. But does that make sense to you? Does it make sense to you that if the NCAA in Michigan, and there are hundreds of meetings to try to settle this, they sit down and they're like, hey, there's really not much to this. We'd like to let you off. With just like a warning and maybe a 1 game, so 2 games for Sharon Moore, and maybe a couple of weeks off the recruiting trails. And Michigan's like, nope, not gonna. We're going the full Monty. We're going the whole way, man. We can't take no way. You're not gonna do this stuff. Does that really make any sense to anybody? And if it does, hey, God bless you. You're entitled to that opinion. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think that's where this ends up. And but we'll all see. We're all seeing. And when it happens, good, bad, and different, you know where we'll be. We'll be podcasting about it, and we'll you know where to find
Right
us
here.
right here.
Yep, right here. I've said this many, many times. The facts, logic, and evidence is on our side. Period. I know it's been, the battle back and forth. And listen, man, we've pointed to so many facts, so much evidence. The only thing they've pointed to is no, or so and so insider says this, or Tony Baker said. I mean, we've just shot that down one by one, pow, pow, pow. Because people think about it, people think we're just sitting back, just hoping and wishing because we're mad we lost and we're guessing. And listen, man, yes, sources, insiders, connected, all that stuff that's there. But listen, It's all right there in writing for you. The tone was set with that Tony Petiti letter. We're going to keep telling you that. The tone was set there. If we only had the Tony Petiti letter, to me, that would be enough to know that something's coming more than just a slap on the wrist. But I won't belabor the point. Whatever. We're going to know soon enough. But we are, like Nevada said, could that happen? Sure. But I'm going to stand firmly on the facts and logic and evidence side, period, and let the chips fall. And I'm quite confident in that. So next super chat, we got Jim Duchel. Thanks for the 1999. This is for Nevada. No answer needed. I am truly sorry. I wanted to say it on here. Love my Scoop family. Nevada, that was for you, brother.
Jim, one of the great people in the world. If you guys, everybody should have a Jim Deutschel in their life, and great guy, great supporter of everything that goes on around here. And yeah, no need. Thank you for the super chat. Like I said, I'm not going to belabor the point. I'll just say that the last week has really brought out some of the best in people. It's brought out. I've seen the worst, and I've seen the best, and Jim's among the best, and very fortunate to have him in our life. And so thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I never met you, but I would love to meet you based off of that endorsement. So thank you, sir. And Mickey, someone I am very familiar with is Mickey. Very consistent, very supportive. Thank you for the 1999. And yeah, I appreciate. And I'll tell you what, man, not being able to pod for a week. You talking about y'all missed the show. We miss y'all, man. I miss y'all. Like, and enjoy seeing y'all in the chat, clowning, laughing, making great points. And even on the board, just talking and dealing with the Scoop family and at meetups. Like the Scoop family is a great bunch, y'all. There's a lot of great people with Buckeye Scoop. I'll just say that. And so whatever, I don't care about the outside noise. I know what I've experienced. And there's some really, really good people with Buckeye Scoop, and this is truly a family. So wanted to say that. But last super chat I see here, it says debates blueprint. Thanks for the 199. Ohio State University, the Ohio State University equals Cowboys, Yankees, Lakers college version. What you got to say about that, Nevada?
Well, I think it's so true, and it's so fun. I've told the story before, but like I'm an Indians fan. I grew up an Indians fan, grew up in a family of Cleveland sports fans, and I used to hate the Yankees, man. I hated them, just hated them, and ended up doing business with them in the minor league baseball world, and got to know the Steinbrenner, got really close with the Steinbrenner family, got to know the boss, and um you see the other side and you're like, man, you just know that why do people hate the Lakers? Why do people hate the Cowboys? Why do people hate the Yankees? Because they win. Because they win. Why do they hate Ohio? You talked about earlier about the story. Why if this was this Michigan scandal was an Ohio State story, there'd have to be a channel dedicated to it because there'd be so much coverage for it. But
Yep.
it's not Michigan because Michigan's B tier, dude. They're B tier. We're S class, and they're like they're not. They're just not. They're not in any way, shape, or form. They're just not. I mean, that's not. They're not. They're not Georgia. They're not even USC, or they're not. I mean, they're Michigan, and it's like you know. That's why the story hasn't got as much traction from it because people don't care. There's a big scandal at Bowling Green. People don't care as much about it as they do about Ohio State. That's how it is with Michigan. That's the only thing that's saving them. Even though I believe that their reputation will be permanent, and I say permanently in terms of the aspect of the rest of my natural life, their reputation will be tarnished. They'll always be known as the cheaters, and um, regardless of what happens with it's kind of like what happened with Penn State. No matter
Yeah.
what happens to Penn State forever and ever, you're always got that thought in your back of your mind whenever you think about Penn State. Well, with Michigan, it's always going to be about cheating. It's always going to be about this cheating scandal. And this Matt Weiss thing, we're in the top of the first inning of this Matt Weiss. This is going to be a
Yeah.
multi-billion-dollar lawsuit that's going to go on and on and on and on with them. But yeah, people hate you because you win, and that's what Yeah, that's what all those great organizations have in common, and that's certainly same for Ohio State.
Yeah, you're right, man. I know this, but it's still like, and it's funny because Michigan fans, they want to flex their brand as if their brand is so powerful. Yes, they have a brand. Michigan is a brand, but it's not Ohio State. It's just not. So I agree. I won't belabor the point on that. It's just what it is. Mark Bundy, what's up, brother? Appreciate you, man. You talk about good people and showing the best out of people, through tough situations. This is one brother who's been very supportive and just very positive and encouraging and all that. So appreciate the 199. Even better days are ahead. OH Nevada,
I oh
beautiful, beautiful. Joe KY9SG, thanks for the 5. Welcome back. What punishment constitutes a hammer at a minimum? I'll answer this first. Mine is a combination of vacated wins and bowl bans. Um, Even if it's 1 year and vacated wins, that's the hammer. And we've mentioned this before because there's so many different interpretations of the hammer. There's people on the extreme end that say if they don't get 3 years postseason ban with all the wins vacated, then it's not the hammer. That's crazy to me. If they get even 1 or 2 plus vacated wins, that's the hammer. And I've said this in podcasts before. It's not that they're not going to get the hammer. It's which hammer. Is it going to be the hammer that Thor first inherited from his father, the regular Thor hammer, or will it be the kind of the axe hammer that he had in Infinity Wars that Peter Dinklage's character helped him build? He came back and triumphantly. It just depends on the size of the hammer to me, but that's the combination, the minimum combination to me. What say you, Nevada?
yeah, it's well said. I mean, I think it's a combination. If they don't get some combination of forward-looking punishment, postseason ban, backward-looking punishment, vacated wins. To me, then they did not get hammered. That's just my opinion. I think when these negotiated settlement fell down, it was because the NCAA wanted that 2023 national championship, and I think for Michigan that was the bridge too far. That's why we're going to hearing right now, is because the NCAA wants that, because 2023 was when all this went down. 2023 was the year that Connor Stallions was on the sideline at the Central Michigan game, and you say, "Oh, that's not that big a deal." The head coach from Central Michigan and Jay Costner both got fired over that. They lost their job
Yeah.
over him being on the sideline. And that's not even the Michigan side. That's just the Central Michigan side. So like for Michigan, what's the punishment got to be for something like that? Let alone the advanced scouting in electronic surveillance that went on for 7, 8 games during that. So I've been told that's what that makes perfect sense to me why this whole thing kind of fell down there. But yeah, I totally agree. It's got to be forward looking and backward looking punishments in terms of the hammer. I fully expect that to happen. And I you know, when you go, if you talk about why the Michigan fans are hanging on to, and like if you're hanging on to the fact that you're in out of context, Charlie Baker comment about fair and square, when really he was just defending the NCAA's decision to go to the Big Ten midseason and notify them about this. He was not saying that they wanted. He was not giving them a pass. He was not giving them, and if that's what you're hanging on to, and you're ignoring all the other facts we've laid out, the Tony Petitti letter, the fact, just for me, the Tony Petitti letter obviously is like, that's the opus magnus of this whole thing. But just the fact be that they couldn't come to a negotiated settlement. When you look through the NCAA thing, they always get negotiated resolution, always. And so when you go to a full hearing, there is a disconnect. There is a big disconnect between the institution and the NCAA. And that does not scream to me fruit basket. That does not scream to me like you getting off. You know what I'm saying? Like that screams to me, this is going to be a problem for you. Now, again, Michigan fans, oh no, so I have every time I ask that question, no one has ever been able to give me an explanation on that. Not one person. And so I'm open, and the floor's open, and the super chats are open. The floor. If some Michigan fan can make the argument as to why didn't they reach an? If this was such not a big deal, why didn't they reach a negotiated resolution? If I can hear, because I'm a reasonable guy. If I can hear a reasonable explanation on that, I'm all ears. But that does not make any sense to me.
Agreed. And again, we keep saying this, we keep saying this, we keep saying this. We keep presenting you with these just logical arguments. Like, listen, Nevada, the responses I've seen for those who dare respond to that, I've heard them say, basically, it's off principle. You know, Michigan, they're not going to have this, and they're not going to let the NCAA. It's like, what? So they're willing to potentially get cracked financially and also otherwise because of their defiance throughout this whole process to prove a point or to make sure Sharon Moore doesn't get more than 2 games. It's crazy. And like you said, like Nevada said, he's not lying. It's like 99% as far as those who go the negotiated resolution route. It rarely goes to the COI. And so you have to take the logical leap to believe that they went this far just because Michigan just wants to prove a point. It's crazy, okay? But we're the illogical ones. We're the ones tripping. We're the ones praying for the hammer. No, we're not praying for the hammer. We're anticipating the hammer based off of the facts and evidence that have been clear in front of everybody from the very beginning. We keep telling y'all this because there's a lot of false narratives and, Buckeye Scoop is no. Put it like this. If the facts and evidence did not line up the way that they clearly are, I would not be on this hammer train. I wouldn't be, keep talking about this. I would move on. But the fact of the matter is it does. And so, yeah, I haven't seen a good answer either, Nevada. And it's what it is. So anyway, I don't see any Michigan super chats coming in to respond to that. So, you know, I mean, I think we can move on and wrap her up unless you got something else.
No, look, hey, look, yeah, I'm a gambler. And I always like when I get good spots, I like to push all my chips in when you have good spots. Well, I got good cards on this one. I think I got this one. So I'm all in on the hammer. And as you said, I went into this whole thing not I had no expectation of what this was going to be. Like this could have ended up being, but like I can certainly um I can certainly use my brain. I can certainly I like to follow logic. I like to go to Occam's razor, and the most likely answer is the one where it's going to be. Uh, I really believe this is the hammer time, and I love the fact I don't mind being on an island on this one because, like I said, because I think I got this one, so I'm excited about that.
Yep, I agree. And there's a few we rub shoulders with, Justin Spiro and
Oh yeah, he's there. He's there.
and PD Premier Drum. I mean, like there's some really good thinkers, some sharp thinking guys who are very thorough about how they do their business who agree with this as well. It's a small little fraternity. I think a lot of people who don't want to go that far is because they want to hedge and they don't want to put their neck out there. Because what if? But it's just like I can't ignore this overwhelming evidence. I'm going to ride with that, regardless of the outcome. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. That's how we feel. Philip Poliat 733. Did I say that right? Thanks for the 5. I'd rather ride the bench at Rutgers than start at that toilet bowl up north. Amen. Amen. Well said. Anything you got? You got anything to about? I'm sure you agree.
Well, no, it's just like it's funny because I have 5 kids, and I've told my kids, hey, they can go anywhere they want. That's their own life and everything like that, except Michigan. That'd be the one. Like, hey, you can do anything with your life, you can do anything, but you're not going to Michigan, and that would be that would yeah, I agree. I'd rather quit the sport than play for that school, and yeah, that would definitely ride the bench. Don't go to Michigan.
Yeah, I'm certainly my son BJ Brandon Jr. He loves football, loves basketball. Hopefully I'm 6'4". Hopefully he's 6'7". I'm going to turn him into a beast into whatever he plays. But I'm going to certainly tap into the Chris Spielman's father spirit and rebuke him sharply. Even if he thinks about going to, he ain't going there. This is why I say, people say, well, what if it's only Michigan? And it's not. That doesn't even make sense. If he's getting an offer from Michigan, I'm sure he has other offers, and we'll entertain those offers. If it's obviously Ohio State, he loves the Buckeyes. But miss me with that little fake hypothetical scenario. Ain't happening. And matter of fact, I don't even think I even have to step in, because he already has a nice, healthy hate for that team up north. And he's also anticipating the hammer as well. So anyway, I'm in agreement. But last super chat here. There needs to be a ceremony to remove that trophy. Thanks, Farasu 9270 for the 999. And the best damn band in the land needs to lead the parade. So says my 72-year-old mom, who now loves your show. OH, Nevada. That is a awesome. Tell your 72-year-old mom she is a genius. I just pictured that in my head. I pictured the marching band just boom, 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 and they're just tearing down the trophies and setting the banners on fire, and Scum fans are just weeping and gnashing of teeth, and we're just sitting back, like, so that's a great because so even if that doesn't happen, I may send somebody up there to record it, because they're probably going to try to do it in the middle of the night. But that would be glorious. What do you think about that picture they just painted, Nevada?
Yes, in my mind, I have like the Game of Thrones thing where like the shame, where they're just like walking up there, thing, just shame,
Shame.
just like ringing the bell, just like walking, ding, 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 just the thing, because yeah, not enough bad things can happen to them, but they're getting it now in the national media a little bit at first, but all at once it's happening. You're seeing drips on this. My story is a gift that keeps on giving, and when the NCAA handles it, I'm telling you, there's going to be rending of clothes and gnashing of teeth, and there's going to be all sorts of upset folks up there, and I'm here for it, man. Remember who told you this is going to happen. So just remember, I'm okay. I'm ready to be accountable, but I think I got this one, so I'm okay with this.
Yes, and a couple things real quick before we wrap up. Number one, those who have not done it yet, look at your phone, look at your laptop, whatever, and click that like button. Please do that now. That's very helpful to get people to this video. Click that like button. And then the other thing is, I was going to say, let me get rid of this comment. Dang it, I done lost my train of thought of what I was going to say. It was Oh, that's what I was going to say. So I'm just, Nevada, I think I mentioned this to you before. I'm a huge Game of Thrones guy, right? I know that series front and back. So it's funny you mentioned the shame. I made a video, and some people who follow me on social media, the part where where she has the scepter, or what's not the scepter, the chick the shame chick, the nun.
Yeah, the nun.
She had her laid out,
Yeah.
So I made a clip and basically said, this is a live look of the NCAA, meeting on the 6th and 7th. And I had like a little Michigan icon over her, and Cersei was the NCAA, and I had the Mountain. He was the COI. And if you haven't seen that, I'm going to post it on the Buckeye Scoop. But yeah, I got a kick out of making that one, man.
Yeah. Well, that's their new master, man. Their new master is the NCAA, and that's COI. It's like, oh no, you're not going to die today. This is yeah. Well, that's why I've loved the fact that this thing's gone on for so long, because people are like, I want instant resolution, and I'm like, no, I want this to go on forever. I want this to
Yeah.
hang over their head forever, because the longer the better. Nobody deserves it more than those guys.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely it's a two-edged sword. On one end, it's like, dang man, they're just annoying you and being extra stupid. Hammer now, but then on the flip side, it's just like the drip, drip, drip is so powerful. So I get it. But anyway, so listen, Great show. Great to be back. Great to be back with y'all. Like I said, we're gonna be going throughout the week as many times as we can. So we'll be back tomorrow, same time, 8:10 p.m. Appreciate y'all. Tell a friend, share this, and like this video. And we will see y'all tomorrow. All right. Peace, Scoopers.